thank you for inviting me, Ari, and I'm really happy to share what I know to everyone that listen about this incredible product, HemoHIM. It is my favorite subject. So I will talk until I'm blue in the face, because if I can get one more person educated and have them also educate others, that is really my mission in life, because one person can affect a huge number of people with the right knowledge. And all of you can do that. Doesn't matter, whether you're educated, uneducated, you're a woman, man, young, old, HemoHIM will speak for itself. And so I'm really excited to share what I know, and I'm going to get started. So I'm just going to share my screen. And I just prepared something for you. Let me just see here. Okay. So we're going to discuss today the power of HemoHIM, why HemoHIM is what it is and why it's so effective for so many conditions. So we're going to go through step by step. And firstly, I want to tell you who I am. I am a natural healthcare professional. Actually, I'm retired. I retired about 4 years ago, but for 32, 33 years, I've been helping thousands of people with all kinds of health issues that typically the traditional medical practitioners really can't help. And actually more than 80% of all the problems that people suffer from, medically, they can't do anything about. And so they're lost, and they're basically trying to find different ways to cope with their problems, etc. And so usually they come to see me as a last resort. And it's no wonder I get them better. Can you imagine if I was their first resort? So anyway, so I have helped thousands of people in my 30+ career. I graduated initially as a chiropractor in 1987. At the same time, I also got my acupuncture certification. And then I also am a homeopath. I studied with the UK School of Hahnemann College of Homeopathy in the UK. So I'm a lifelong learner. So continually, I'm learning about new products, new methods, and sometimes they're outdated, and then I have to keep up. So when HemoHIM came into my life, I'm going to basically tell you the story. And it actually has to do with my sister and myself. We actually discovered HemoHIM at the same time. So my sister, many of you know, actually all of you know, Star Master Esther Lee. So we're going back now, but almost 11 years, 2011. And we were both introduced to actually Atomy by my brother Samuel Park. Some of you know him. But basically, my sister came to visit because she was having a ton of health issues. And I think you've heard her story last time, so I'm not going to go over that. But HemoHIM basically saved her life. And so that's pretty darn powerful. And at that time, I was very busy with my practice. I was seeing lots of patients with lots of different health issues. And so as I saw my sister recover so quickly with this product, I was intrigued, and I did some research and found out it was available in Canada. And so right away, I added it to my repertoire of different supplements. I used hundreds of different products from lots of different companies, homeopathic remedies, herbal remedies, nutraceuticals. And so I'm always open to looking at new products. And because this was from Korea and it had an interesting history with who developed it, I was really intrigued. And so I delved into the research and thought, man, this could be very, very helpful. So I started actually using it, testing it with some of my very, very worst case patients, people that had severe problems, and I had gotten better to a certain level. They were on tons of medications, which I was able to get them off, and with acupuncture treatments and a whole bunch of supplements, they were functioning fairly well, much better than they were when they came to see me. But I always want to get people to the next level. And so these were people with chronic conditions they've had suffered from years and years. So I said to them, listen, I found a new product and I want you to tell me what happens. I want you to use it as directed and let me know what happens. And these are people I saw at least twice a month. Every couple of weeks, they needed to have acupuncture treatments and they needed to replenish their supplements. And so I started to give the Himohim, just 2 a day as directed on the package, and waited to see what happens. Well, within days, I was getting calls at home. This is very unusual because nobody calls me at home. I give them my home number just in case of emergency, but really in my line of work, there are no emergencies because if it's that bad, they will end up in the hospital. So I was really quite surprised to get a first call from one of my patients saying, Dr. Anna, what is that awful tasting stuff you gave me the other day? I'm thinking, oh, maybe something bad's happened. I said, why are you asking me? She said, I can't believe this, but I woke up today and I have no pain. I'm thinking, no pain? How's that possible? This is a person with severe rheumatoid arthritis where her hands were crippled. She's had it for over 20 years and she could barely function, with the treatments, etc. But at least she was off the medications. And yet to wake up with no pain within 3 or 4 days of using Himohim, I was just flabbergasted. And then another call comes in from another patient who had diabetes that was very difficult to control. And he said, I can't believe this. This morning I checked my sugar and it was almost half what it normally is. And I actually had to cut down my medications. Incredible, just within a week. Another person with high blood pressure and on and on. And I'm just wondering, what the heck is this product? It's nothing like I have ever used. So that forced me basically to go really deep into the research. And when I found the research, I was like, oh my goodness, I have found something. It is a miracle substance. It's nothing like anything else I've ever used. It's in a class by itself. And so the last 6 years of my practice, because I discovered the Himohim in 2011, the last 6 years of my practice, before I retired, I've treated hundreds and hundreds of patients with this product, from people suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, hormone dysfunction, a lot of arthritic pain, swelling, inflammatory processes, people with autoimmune diseases, you name it, I've treated it. And so I want to share some of that information and delve into actually why Himohim is so powerful. So I'm going to next is just give you some responses, which I've already done with Himohim. I was actually ahead of myself here. I should follow my program. So when I was getting all these responses from my patients, I really didn't take it personally because I don't usually take every supplement that I have in my on my shelf, because they're for all kinds of different conditions. And in my mind at that time, I was the healthiest person I knew. So why would I take something when I don't really need it? Because I thought at that time, Himohim was just like any other herb that I'd given to for different conditions. So once I start to get these kind of responses from people who suffer from very severe conditions that they've had for a long time, I started to look at it differently. And as I mentioned, I did more research. And one theme was that it was actually going to help prevent cancer. Now that really intrigued me because I'm all into prevention. I took supplements, I took certain herbs and homeopathic remedies for prevention. And at that time, in my mind, I was the healthiest person I knew. And so I thought, well, you know what? All these people are getting these incredible results, and it is a great product for prevention. So I'm going to take it for prevention. That's one thing I don't have control over. I try to eat right, I exercise, get rest, and take all my supplements. I'm doing the best I can, but I want to increase my odds of preventing long-term conditions like cancer. So I started taking it just 2 a day, actually, I'm going to go back, like what it suggested. At that time, I didn't know that you could increase, for people with cancers, etc., because I hadn't had enough experience. So I just started taking 2 a day, 1 in the morning, 1 maybe after dinner or just before dinner. And I wasn't expecting a lot. I just wanted to take it for prevention. It wasn't that expensive, and I added to my repertoire of my regular supplements. So the first 2-3 weeks, I really didn't notice anything. But then by the end of the 4th week, 3 things happened to me, I considered the healthiest person that I knew, that really made the difference in my life. And now it's been over 10 years when I've been taking Himohim consistently. And the first thing is, and a lot of you may be able to identify with this, is that I was a very, very light sleeper. Ever since I was young, I, slept very lightly. Anything could wake me up. And usually I got up a couple of times a night to go to the bathroom, and then I'd go back to sleep if I could. And I needed at least 7 hours of sleep every night. So to me, that was genetic. That was just who I was. And I modified my life according to my sleep patterns. So I had, room darkening shades. I had white noise. I did the best I could to try to get proper sleep. Well, one morning around about 4 weeks after after taking Himohim consistently, I woke up. It was pitch black. I'm thinking, what happened? Did the lights go out? I look at my clock, and it said 5 a.m. I'm thinking, 5 a.m. Geez. But I realized I felt like I had the best sleep ever. I wasn't tired, and I was wide awake. And I realized I had slept right through the night. I thought, wow, this is weird. So I thought it was just a fluke. It happened again the next day. Next morning, I'm thinking that's 2 days in a row where I woke up at 5 in the morning, and I had gone to bed at midnight. I can't go to bed before that. I have too much to do. And so I usually went to bed around 11:30 or 12 o'clock, sometimes even 1. And then I would have to sleep till 7 or 7:30. If I didn't, I really wouldn't feel very good throughout the day. And ever since then, no matter what time I go to bed, I only need 4.5 to 5 hours of sleep a night. And I do not wake up. I am done. Once I turn my lights off, within 10 minutes, I am gone. And that's incredible. My whole life had changed. I was never a morning person, but now I get up between 4:30 to 5 a.m. Whether I'm on holidays or not, depending on when I sleep. If I go to bed at 11, I'll get up 4.5, 5 hours after that. If I go to bed at 1, 4.5, 5 hours. Doesn't seem to matter when I go to bed. I only need 4.5 to 5 hours of sleep. And I thought, how is that possible? I was always told that we needed 8 hours of sleep. Well, when I did some research on sleep, it's not how long you stay sleeping, it's what kind of sleep you need. You need 3 hours. You need three sessions of REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. The one REM sleep cycle is 1.5 hours. 3 times 1.5 is 4.5 hours. There's the key to proper sleep, getting REM sleep. And that's what Himohim has done. It's given me that REM sleep, the deeper REM sleep. I believe it's the delta cycle. Doesn't matter, but that is where you do the most amount of restoration and repair. And so therefore, it's given me 2 hours of life back, and 2 hours a night in a year. That's 30 days. 30 full days that I'm not sleeping my life away, which is incredible. There's so much more you can do. When you can get up at 5 in the morning and feel bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, you have probably a good 2 hours before the rest of your family wakes up and before your day starts. Because once your day starts, you really don't have a chance to do anything for you. So that's where I read, that's where I do my yoga, that's where I play piano, you name it, and it's my time. So that's one thing. Second thing that's happened, and every one of you can relate to this, I believe, is the anti-inflammatory effect. This incredible supplement has impacted my life greatly. I ride horses, and a lot of you know that. I've been doing it for now close to 25 years, and I don't just ride for half an hour, have a lesson, and stop. I do what we call fox hunting. So during the season, it's a full day affair, and I will have to get up, 6 in the morning, go to the barn, get my horse, then drive the horse, trailer it to where we're riding, and we will ride probably a good 4 to 5 hours. Then have lunch, come back, take the horse back to the barn, and I'm not back home till 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a full day, and it's just exhausting, but I love it, and that's the price I pay. But what the problem is, the next day, I feel like I've been hit by a Mack truck. I'm sore, I'm, stiff because of, it's a very physically demanding ride. And so it takes me a couple of days to recover, but then I do it again, because usually I would go out twice a week. But ever since I've been taking Himohim, on the day of the ride, I will take 3. The next morning, that evening, yes, I'm tired, which is understandable. But the next day, I wake up, it's as if I never rode. I don't have the stiffness, I don't have the discomfort, the pain. It's incredible. And so I'm going to go over why that is. And the third thing, again, some of you are going to be able to identify with is I had low blood sugar. I had a condition called hypoglycemia, which is actually the precursor to diabetes. My father had severe diabetes, which wasn't controlled, and that kind of led to him getting, heart disease and strokes, etc. And so, what low blood sugar does, or hypoglycemia does, is that your blood sugar drops too quickly, consistently. So the way I managed it was to eat very frequently. I would have to eat every 2 hours. I always had food in my purse, because I could actually feel the blood sugar going down. And when it goes down too low, I get very tired or get very irritable. You may be hypoglycemic yourself, or you may be diabetic, or you may know people who are like that, or your children. You should be able to identify them like that. But I've been like that ever since I was a kid. So I figured that's a genetic problem. And so I never considered it to be something that I could fix. Well, again, so I modified my life according to, my sleep and my blood sugar issues, etc. So it wasn't an issue. But again, 3 or 4 weeks after I started taking Himohim, one day at my clinic, we had a major crisis from the moment I got in, and I was busy till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I finally was able to sit down and go, holy crap, whatever it is settled. And I realized I had not eaten since breakfast, and it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I would have had to eat every 2 hours to function. And yet I had no issues. Yes, I was a little hungry, but I wasn't tired. I wasn't about to faint, and I wasn't about to chew somebody's head off. And ever since then, I can actually go hours without eating. And now I can even do fasts, 24, 48-hour fasts without any issues. And I do intermittent fasting. It's amazing. And that's been since I was introduced to Himohim. So that is 3 major things that's happened to me within a month of starting Himohim. And it's made an incredible impact on my life and my health over the last 10 years, because I just turned 59 in October. And I feel better, and I believe I look better than I did in my 30s. So I don't think I've aged a day in the last 10 years. And actually, I think I've reversed my aging process. So that is an incredible feat. So this is why I'm so excited about Himohim, because you can do that for everyone. If you can do that for me, you can do that for everyone. So that's my story. And let me just get here. And the second story I need to tell you about is my father. And this kind of ties into my sister's story. So going back to when both my sister and I was introduced to Himohim in 2011 by my brother, who actually had gone to Korea and seen my dad at that time, who had a major stroke. So in spring of 2011, my dad had a major stroke. This was his third stroke, and he was, I believe, 77 years old. He had severe diabetes. He had bad cardiovascular disease, and this is why he ended up with the stroke. So this was his third, and his doctors were quite amazed that he survived it, but he was bedridden. And so my brother went to visit him, and my brother had some previously, he and his wife was introduced to Atomy, and they were using some of the products, and he knew about Himohim, so he actually brought a box to my dad, but didn't really explain to my dad. And my dad really wasn't in the best of shape to look after himself. So he went to take care of my dad for a week or so, and then he came back. And so he was in pretty severe state for a whole year. By this time, my sister had gotten very good results with Himohim, and her health has improved greatly. And the following year, in 2012, she went to visit him, and she was in Korea for, I believe, a month. And my dad was still almost bedridden. He could hardly do anything. And by this time, Esther was very up on Himohim because she knew what it did for herself. And so she made sure that my dad took 6 a day while she was there, made sure that he took it. And within a week to 2 weeks, my dad was actually able to get out of bed and actually walk. By the end of the 4th week, he was able to actually walk with a cane and be able to go on the subway and go to the Atomy Center every week. So this is incredible, the change, because he was basically bedridden and an invalid for almost a year after his third stroke in 2011. And he started taking Himohim in the summer of 2012. And within a month, he was a different person. And he was 77 years old. So this is what I tell people. It does not matter how old you are. Everyone can benefit so greatly, and especially the older people, because there's so much happening that Himohim can help them with. So that's my father's story. So now I've got my sister with her incredible results with her health, me with, better health. I was healthier than everyone, but I had other, obviously, issues that needed to be looked after that weren't, and I had no clue that it was possible, and I benefited. And my father, and he actually lived another, I believe, 8 years, and in very good shape, because he actually was able to travel. He came to Canada to visit. He went to Europe a few times, and this is after suffering from 3 strokes. So that's incredible that he could survive another 8 years, basically pretty healthy. And so he just passed away, I believe, 3 years ago, but he was in his 80s at that time. So that's my father's story. And so what I want to do is go to a deep dive into actually what Himohim is, why and who developed it. This is a story that all of you need to understand, because Himohim was never developed for the general public. It was actually developed for the scientists of the Korean government body, actually the nuclear science department called KERI, the Korean Atomic Energy Research Institute. This government research institute is the 3rd largest research institute in the world. USA has the biggest one, about NASA, etc. Russia has the 2nd largest research institute, and South Korea, tiny little country of 50 million people, has the 3rd largest nuclear research institute in the world. And so it was their scientists that actually developed it. And it was specifically for protecting their scientists from the harmful effects of the radiation that they would be exposed to during their work. And because some of them were getting sick, they were getting cancers and autoimmune diseases, much higher rate than the general population. And so that's really what HemoHIM was developed for. And it was an 8-year government project because the government was alarmed with the amount of sicknesses in their scientists. They got together 15 of their top scientists, 30 of their support staff, and said to them, listen, you need to do something. You need to figure out a way to firstly protect our healthy scientists from the damaging effects of the radiation. And also, if at all possible, those who are already sick, hopefully you can get them better before they die. We don't care how long it takes you. We don't care how much money it costs, but it has to be a natural product that works with the human body. And as Asians, I mean, we were used to using herbs, and we used to things like acupuncture before we would resort to the pharmaceuticals. And so these scientists worked around the clock for 8 years. The first 5 years, they spent most of it on research, trying to figure out what natural herbs had the most anti-cancer properties and immune boosting properties, because that's really what their focus was. They weren't focused on any other issues, because their goal was to prevent cancers and to prevent autoimmune diseases and to support the immune system. So in that 5-year period, they looked at herbs from China, Japan, India, North America, everywhere where they saw some kind of benefit for cancer, supporting cancer or preventing cancers, or helping somebody with cancer recover, as well as supporting the immune system. And so they actually looked at, and then once they found these herbs, they actually tried to figure out which herbs worked best together, which is called synergy, meaning certain herbs, when you put them together with others, are actually harmful, and sometimes they actually create some kind of an energetic reaction where you get a much bigger result, a better result than if they were all used separately. And so they selected 3 of the top herbs, and they happened to all be actually Chinese herbs that was grown only in certain parts of China and certain parts of Korea. And they were actually used thousands of years for certain effects, but they were never studied as thoroughly as it was studied by these scientists. And so their biggest concern was, now they had the 3 of the top synergistic herbs, but their biggest problem was they couldn't give it in high enough doses for those scientists that were actually very sick, because they had very weakened systems. And if you give them too much of a herb, etc., it just overwhelms them, and there's actually side effects to it. And the biggest challenge with the side effects is that most of the side effects comes from the toxins that come along with these herbs. Every time you eat something that's grown from the ground, there's always a little bit of toxins that come along with it. And for the average person, the toxins are quite small, and we don't eat a lot of that same food, so it really doesn't affect us too much. But people who are hypersensitive, people who are actually have food allergies, food sensitivities, that's really what they're reacting to, are these toxins in these foods that we need to eat. And so with the people that are very sick, people who have cancers, people who have autoimmune disease, they're even more sensitive to these things. So that was the biggest concern for these scientists, is how can we get rid of these toxins so that we can give enough of the active ingredients of these herbs so that they can actually get better. So the last 3 years of their research was trying to figure out that problem. And they figured it out by using their nuclear technology, which is not available to most companies, but because they were a government research institute with nuclear technology, they started to do testing of these herbs and trying to figure out how they can get rid of the toxins. And they did it by taking freshly harvested herbs, less than 24 hours old, and they were irradiated with certain frequencies of gamma radiation. And what happened was the product would actually separate, the active ingredients would separate from the toxins, which is incredible. And then when they did a different frequency, the smell would separate. And another frequency, the color would separate. But with respect to drinking something, they didn't care about the smell or the color. As soon as they figured out how to separate the toxins from the powerful active ingredients, that's when they said, we got it. We figured out how we could give hundreds of times of this active ingredient to our sick people, and yet they would not get side effects. So they did this special processing with these 3 herbs, and they started to test it on mice because they wanted to see how it would affect them. And so they started feeding mice they had given cancer to. So these mice had tumors all over their body. They were very skinny and they were ready to die. And so then they start to feed them this concoction of these 3 herbs, which they had taken all the toxins out. And within weeks, these mice, the tumors start to shrink. And within a month, these mice, who should have died a long time ago, were stronger and healthier and bigger than the control group, which is the mice that were healthy that they were comparing to. And what was really interesting is that when they followed the lifespan of these mice, the mice that should have died a long time ago lived twice as long as the control group mice. So this just, made a huge difference for the scientists that we have what we need. So let's make as much of this product as possible and start feeding it to our scientists, because it was actually just food, functional food, but it was food that was supercharged with the healthy part of the herbs for protection and for helping to reverse cancers and autoimmune diseases. So they start to feed it to all their scientists, the healthy ones so that they could be protected, and the sick ones so that they can get better. And within a very short amount of time, a lot of the sick scientists, including 20% of those suffering from stage 4 liver cancer, recovered. Now that is unheard of, because by the time somebody is in stage 4 of any kind of cancer, you've got probably 3 to 6, maybe 12 weeks at the most to live. And because they're so depleted and so overwhelmed. So for 2 out of 10 or 20 out of 100, 20% to recover from stage 4 liver cancer, that was just huge. And so that is how powerful this was. And so once they figured out that it was so effective, after a bit of time, not too long, the Korean government decided, wait a minute, we can't just keep this to ourselves. We need to get it out to the world. How many people could benefit from our research and from how they can recover from all kinds of health conditions? But they're thinking more of autoimmune diseases and cancers. And so this is when they started to partner with Komar, Korea, because they needed somebody to actually make it properly in bulk. Because as a research institute, they really weren't, they didn't have the facilities and they weren't designed for that. So this is where they partnered with Komar, Korea, who had all of the technical know-how of mass producing things properly. And I want to go to where now Atomy comes in and Chairman Park's story. This is the beginning of Atomy and Himohim combination. And so Chairman Park, actually, when I went to Korea 2 years ago for the Korea tour, I heard a part of his story, and Esther also filled in the story. I wanted to make sure we had the correct version. But in 2008, Chairman Park was very, very sick. He was actually only about 51, so he was quite young, but he was actually in the intensive care unit with severe liver disease and severe diabetes. I believe his sugar was up to like 500. And he was told by his doctors that he really didn't have a lot of time, that he should really get his affairs in order, which is pretty grim. So he was in the intensive care unit. And in 2008, that was a year where Komar, Korea, and Kerry, the research department of the Korean government, had gotten together and started to produce Himohim, and they were marketing it themselves. And at that time, one box of Himohim for 30 servings was sold for $770 US. That is huge. And so, but at that time in 2008, Chairman Park's good friend, actually Dr. Yoon, got him a box of Himohim and said, listen, you don't have a lot of time, and if you have to try everything to get better. So you don't have, you have nothing to lose, and you won't have maybe 2 or 3 months to recover. And so, needless to say, he recovered, but it took just a month of using Himohim, and Chairman Park was actually able to get out of bed, which is huge. And he kept taking Himohim, and for the rest of probably a good 6 months or so. I don't know exactly how long, but by that time, I mean, $770 for 1 month's supply of just 30 Himohims. That is just too expensive, and basically there was hardly any sales. It was an incredible product, but really nobody could afford to do that. And so this is where Chairman Park ended up actually with his history of business administration, and his history of network marketing in Australia. He actually was able to partner with Komar B&H and be the sole distributor of Himohim because it had saved his life. And his goal with Himohim was to actually save other people's lives, as well as helping people recover from abject poverty. Because 2008 was when the major financial crash happened all over the world. And in Korea, it was just decimated a lot of people. And a lot of people lost their businesses, lost their homes. It was a really tough time. And so in 2009, when Chairman Park founded Atomy, that was his goal, is to help as many people as possible to get healthy, and not only healthy, but also financially get them out of a really dire situation. And so that's the story. And you all know from 2009 to now, 2021, 2020, the success story of Himohim. And that is because of Chairman Park's, his goal was not to make money, but to help as many people as possible, because he was saved, his life was saved by Himohim. So that's a really amazing story that a lot of people don't know. He hints at it during some of his speeches, but the details were never known. So this is actually one of the things a lot of you don't realize, is that the cost of Himohim, this is actually the progression. When Himohim was made specifically for the scientists by Kerry, if you had to put a dollar value on each scientist monthly use, it would have cost approximately $10,000 per scientist per month. Now that just sounds astronomical. But you have to remember that it was the scientists who were actually creating and producing this initially. And you take a look at what a nuclear scientist would charge per hour, and it would make sense that 1 month's supply per scientist would be worth $10,000 US dollars. So obviously that's why they could not produce it themselves, because producing just for their scientists, and it was taxpayers' dollars, so it was not an issue. But as soon as they realized that they wanted to share with the world, they needed a partner that could actually produce this way cheaper. And so in 2008, when they partnered with Komar Korea, they were able to actually get it down to $770 a box for 30 servings. From 10,000, that's a huge drop, but $770 per 30 servings per month for somebody, again, it would be way out of most people's range. And so when Chairman Park took over in 2009, $105 per box for 30 servings. Now that was affordable for most people. So in the beginning, he put every cent that he got from whatever sales back into the company, to the point where by 2017, he could actually increase the number of packages continually and yet still keep the price the same. So as the company made money, he put it back into the company, back into increasing the number of servings of the Himohim, and yet not raise the prices. And in 2017, he finally raised the price to $114 for 60 servings, because the cost of the production had gone up. And so that is the way things are priced in Atomy. It's priced according to how much it costs to make. And the few pennies and pence that Atomy makes, they still make a lot of money now because of the volume. So this is a progression, and that price has not gone up. It is still 114 Canadian dollars for 60 servings. And so that's an incredible business model, and that is one of the main reasons why Atomy has exploded around the world in every country, because everyone is able to afford that kind of pricing for this incredible product. So this is actually from the global website. So as you can see, in 2009, 30 servings when it first came out, and then it went to 48 servings, then 54 servings, and it was still exactly the same price. And then the price went up in Canada to 114 by the time it went from 30 to 60. So that's almost double the number of servings, and yet only $7 in price difference. So that's incredible. What company does that in like 10 years? The price only goes up $7, but they've doubled the amount of servings. And so that proves to you that the integrity of this company is far none. And this is why this company will survive the 100 years, because of the integrity of the leader, integrity of the whole philosophy of this company. All right, so let's get into actually the Himohim itself. Who needs to take Himohim? Well, if you're alive, you need to be taking Himohim. And I say that with a bit of a smile, but infants can take Himohim, and centenarians can take Himohim. And on the box it says 6-year-olds and up, but infants can take it as well. You just give them little drops. If they have colic or they're being fussy, just a few drops or a quarter teaspoon in their mouth, or even just with the finger, because the energy of this substance is very, very powerful. The actual product itself is totally non-toxic, and it will not harm or kill anyone. And the way to know when you have a substance like aspirin or drugs, for instance, when that substance can kill is when there's a child safety cap. That is how you know that it can kill you. Because if it's something that anybody can take, yes, they might get sick and that they might get diarrhea. If they took a whole box full of HemoHIM, they're going to either vomit or they're going to have diarrhea, but they're not going to die. It's not poison, especially HemoHIM, because all the toxins have been removed. So do not be afraid to take too much HemoHIM. If you take too much, you're wasting it, but you can take a lot more than you think. Then it says on the package. That is just a maintenance dose. I'm going to go over how much people should take depending on their condition, but don't be afraid to give it to infants. Just a few drops, in their mouth or even on your finger, because that can make a huge difference in their whole ability to function, especially if they're colicking or if they've got a fever. Just put some on in their mouth with a finger, and it'll do wonders. It's even good for pets, and I'm going to discuss that later. So who needs to take HemoHIM? Anybody that has an immune system that want to be supported, anybody who wants to increase their vitality, HemoHIM is the answer. Very few people can't take it. So what kind of conditions does HemoHIM help with? So what I've done is these are pictures from my PDF that I think I gave the link to Ari, where actually if she can post it in the chats, that you can click on the link, like copy it and put it in your web browser. If you click on the link, you'll be able to access this document. It's a 4-page document, actually it's double-sided, where it's all about HemoHIM, and I go into a lot of detail because this is what I used to give to my patients, because some people need to read. Different people learn differently. Some people need to watch a video, some people need to actually read the words, some people need to hear it. So this was designed for getting more specific information. So I've just taken snapshots of parts of it. So what I've done is I've listed all the different conditions, health conditions, these specific herbs help with. So the first herb is Angelica. And this is about the only herb that most North Americans know. But Angelica has been around thousands of years, and it's one of the most powerful herbs that in Chinese medicine. But if you actually look at the function of every herb, then take that function and then you supercharge it because of the way that those herbs were processed using the nuclear technology of taking the toxins out. You can take hundreds of more times of the active ingredients with no side effects. And that's not possible when you take a regular herb, like regular Dongquai. You cannot take 500 times of the dose. I mean, that's just not possible. But you can with Dongquai in HemoHIM because of the toxins have been removed. And when you 10x the substance, you also 10x the toxins. And this is why you can't take too much herbs, etc., because it will make you very sick, but not with HemoHIM. And this is the key. And so I always call HemoHIM herbs on steroids. That's a really good analogy because you've got your herb, but you've just supercharged it. So if you look at the function of each of the herbs, then you can understand why HemoHIM can help with so many different conditions. So for instance, Angelica maintains hormone balance. For thousands of years, it's been used to mainly by women to regulate their hormones. So there you go. So this is why HemoHIM is so amazing for regulating the female hormones, but it also regulates other hormones like hormones that affects diabetes and affects blood pressure. It acts as an aphrodisiac. Incredible. That alone should, skyrocket the sale of HemoHIM if people knew that. Reduces menstrual problems. That is the number one reason that my daughter started to take it when she was 17, because she used to have severe cramps and she would lose a couple of days because she felt so bad. And as soon as she started taking HemoHIM, she only took one a day. Within 2 cycles, she didn't even know that she was starting her period. And so any of you that have children or teenagers going through this is one of the best things that you can do for them, because it regulates those hormones that are all out of whack, especially during when they're first starting their cycles. Treats premature ejaculation. Again, for men, incredible, because it helps with circulation of their blood. And blood tonic helps to generate more blood cells in the body. This is the key with respect to the main function of Himohim, which is stimulating the bone marrow to produce white blood cells and red blood cells. So Angelica is one of the top herbs that does that. It helps generate more blood cells in the body, so it acts as a blood tonic. And also Himohim is incredibly rich. Angelica in itself as a herb is nutrition. It has folic acid, biotin, B vitamins, nicotinic acid. It's a key ingredient in majority of the Chinese blood boosting formulas. So it purifies the blood, and it also helps to keep it thin, which prevents blood clots. Now that is a major, major plus with respect to COVID. What's COVID's main way of affecting people? Causes blood clots. And so I'm going to go over actually some of the recent developments with Himohim and treating of people with COVID, people who are suffering from the side effects of the vaccines or the shots, and I'm going to go over that later. So what does Angelica does? Reduces mood swings. Amazing for regulating the moods, detoxifies the body, improves blood circulation. So a lot of the blood issues, Angelica is the one that's responsible for. Prevents anemia. This is huge. Most women are anemic. A lot of the tiredness that they have because they lose their blood every month, and those women that have very heavy periods, I guarantee you they will have anemia. Iron deficiency is very, very common, and yet it's very difficult to solve because supplemental iron is very hard to absorb, and also it causes a lot of constipation. And so Angelica has huge amounts of bioavailable iron in itself. So when you take that herb, you're actually getting the iron that your body can use very easily. It can be absorbed immediately. And I've had several people with pretty severe anemia where supplements weren't helping them, and they were getting iron infusions every month just to survive, basically, or else they'd be sleeping on the couch the whole month. And within 6 weeks of taking Himohim, they could stop the iron infusions. Within 3 days, they noticed a huge change in their energy level because your blood, the red blood cells, actually turn over very quickly. Usually within 3 days, it's making new ones. So within 3 to 4 days of taking Himohim, they can notice a huge change in their iron, in their energy level. And that means that they were anemic. And so that is a huge issue with most women. And so people who, after they've been taking Himohim, even for a few days, and they notice a huge surge in their energy, that usually means that they were anemic and that their body's making more red blood cells. The word hemo stands for hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the protein in the red blood cells that requires the iron, and the hemoglobin, its main function is to transport oxygen to every cell in your body, the trillions of cells in your body. And so if you don't have enough hemoglobin because you don't have enough iron, then your ability to get the oxygen to all those cells decreases greatly. So that is one reason why everyone should be taking Himohim consistently. So unexplained fatigue, people who get brain fog because you're not getting enough oxygen to your brain cells, it's huge. Anemia can cause so many problems because just your body's just not getting enough oxygen to all the cells. You'll be tired, you won't be able to think, which means that can cause accidents, that can cause a lot of problems. So also fights depression. I mean, because again, it works in the brain, right? So it has the ability to improve your mood, lessen anxiety, depression, anxiety, a lot of mental issues, fights stress, which is rampant nowadays. So Himohim is an incredible product to help with the brain function. Also antioxidant capacity. So lots of functions there. And we're still on Dong Quai. So Dong Quai is the most powerful herb of those three. Improves heart health, skin care, works as an anti-inflammatory and antibacterial substance for the skin. And so it helps with alopecia, which is hair loss, psoriasis, eczema, lessening the discomfort appearance of these skin afflictions quickly. It works amazingly well. In kids, usually within 3 or 4 days, you can tell huge differences in their skin quality. And you can also use Himohim topically. So those who have eczema, etc., just put some on topically and it will help with the itchiness and swelling as well. But very, very good for within a couple of weeks, people with a lot of skin issues, after taking Himohim, notice a difference with their skin. Bone strength. Those who have bone density issues like osteoporosis, Dong Quai will also help strengthen that as well. So those that's huge for the older people who have lost a lot of bone density. It's imperative that they take Himohim. Lowers blood sugar levels. So this is where the diabetics, this will end. Also diabetics and people with irregular blood sugar levels, like the hypoglycemics. They have high blood sugar and then it just crashes. So it helps to actually regulate. And Dong Quai is also an amazing anti-inflammatory. So reduces inflammation in all kinds of people, and it will actually reduce the inflammatory markers of C-reactive protein. And so it's very important to fight off foreign organisms with if you have too much inflammation, your ability to fight off different organisms goes down drastically. All right, so let's get to, this is the only side effects, but it may not be a side effect. Dong Quai, as I mentioned, helps to keep your blood thin. Your blood it's much better for your blood to be thin than too thick. And I'm not going to go into the blood types, etc., but different blood types have a different blood thickening effect. Blood type A's, like myself, like my dad, we tend to have thicker blood, and blood type O's tend to have thinner blood. So we have a higher tendency to get heart disease because our blood is thicker. So thinning your blood is much better than having thick blood. And so Dong Quai is a blood thinner, but it is not a huge blood thinner. It has an effect of thinning the blood. So one of the things is that a lot of people are on blood thinners. So if they're on blood thinners, they want to really keep an eye on their blood thinning numbers, meaning get your blood tested. The key is to take less of the coumarin, which is a blood thinner, the drug, the pharmaceutical blood thinner, because that's actually rat poison. That's how they kill rats, is that when rats take the blood thinner, all their blood vessels basically explode and they die. Okay, so you want to get rid of the pharmaceutical blood thinners and have a natural regular blood thinning effect from Dong Quai, which is not going to give you side effects like the pharmaceuticals. Okay, so so this is the only factor you want to be careful with if somebody's on blood thinners. You want to make sure that if they're on blood thinners just for prevention, then they can take Dong Quai. They just have to monitor their pharmaceuticals. And allergy. If they have any allergic reactions to cilantro, celery, or dill, then they're not going to be able to take Himohim because it's in the same family as Dong Quai. So just that is the only problem there. But very, very few people are allergic to celery or dill or cilantro. But you need to ask, okay? And also people who are pregnant should not be taking Himohim because Donque or Angelica can maybe give them some cramping, etc. And we want to make sure there's absolutely no negative effects during pregnancy. Lactation as well, and people who have a lot of cramps during menstruation. During menstruation, we advise them not to take the Himalayan, but they take it when they're not on their cycle to prevent the cramping later. Okay, so not during the cramping, but on the off days. So that's the only side effect you want to really look at. The Gisticum is the second herb, and this has some incredible properties. One of its top properties, the anti-inflammatory properties. Anywhere where there's swelling, almost all of the health conditions that chronic health conditions people suffer now from is from too much swelling. Whether it's too much swelling in their digestive system, in their joints, all over the place. If you can bring the swelling down, then a lot of the body will function better. And so they've done a lot of actual tests and experiments with actually comparing Himohim with a prescription anti-inflammatory, and Himohim came out just as good as a prescription anti-inflammatory, or even better, with 0 side effects. Now that's the key. And so a lot of people who have arthritis, chronic arthritis, it could be 20, 30 years. I've had this with lots of my patients, and within 3-4 days, tell me, all my pain is gone. Even though their joints are all basically fused, etc. If the swelling goes, a lot of the pain goes, because it's the swelling that squeezes the nerves around those joints, which causes most of the pain. So anti-inflammatory effects are huge for Himohim. Also, the Gisticum has analgesic properties, which means pain-killing properties. The anti-inflammatory and the pain-killing properties came in huge for me when I had a major horse accident early August. Basically, my horse fell on top of me. We both fell. I'm only 115 pounds. My horse is 1,200 pounds. So needless to say, I was crushed. I broke my collarbone at the edge, and I broke 7 ribs on this right side. I was in the hospital for 5 days, and I had a concussion as well. And I don't remember the whole day because obviously I had a concussion. But when I woke up in the hospital, my purse was on the ledge, and I had 2 Himohims there. So I didn't even know what had happened, but I knew is that I was in pain. I took 2 right away. My friend, who also takes Himohim, she went and grabbed her box from home, got me Himohim. I took 4 more that night. I slept that night, and I didn't have to take any painkillers. I didn't have to take any anti-inflammatories. I could sleep, even though, although I had to kind of sleep sitting up, I could actually go to sleep, which means that's when I could heal. And I had to stay in the hospital for 5 days because I couldn't move because of the break. But as soon as I could move, within about 5 days, I could actually get out of bed. That's when I could go home. So I wasn't on any medication from the moment of waking up from the hospital. That is the power of Himohim. It totally took away the inflammation. It took away the pain, and I was able to be comfortable in the sleep, and I could sleep right through. And the only time it hurt was when I coughed or laughed or had to move, but that was just temporary. But if I didn't move, it was fine. And within 2 weeks, I could actually wash my hair and I could breathe. It's incredible how fast I recovered. And all when I got my checkup, my orthopedic surgeon took the x-rays, etc., I could not believe how fast I healed. Probably 3 to 4 times faster than I would have without Himohim. So going on, has antibacterial properties. antifungal properties. I've met several people with fingernail fungus, toenail fungus, couldn't get rid of them within a month, all gone. Sedative properties, lessens anxiety in people. It can help you sleep. So those people who have trouble sleeping, I suggest you take this about a half hour before going to sleep. Those of you who have issues with what's the word, with your adrenals, I suggest you don't take them after 7 o'clock because they'll give you a second wind. So people with chronic fatigue, don't take it past 7 o'clock until that's settled. Treats anemia. Again, there's your second one, treating anemia, headaches, female reproductive, abnormal menstrual issues. So a lot of health issues here. So again, improving heart health, skin care, strengthens bones. I think this is done quick. No. Okay. So let's go to Peonia. The last herb, blood tonic again, digestive intestinal issues. Anybody with any digestive problems, Himohim will help to regulate. Heart health, brain function, healing powers, valuable for healing and rejuvenating powers. So this came in very handy for me when I was injured. Nerve pain and headaches, people with migraines, people with any kind of nerve dysfunction. Me, as a chiropractor, I saw a lot of people with nerve issues, and Himohim was just tremendously effective in helping settle nerves. And nerve pain is one of the hardest pains to get rid of because your body does not want to deaden the nerves. Because you deaden the nerves, nothing works. So that's why it's very difficult to take any kind of medication that will actually work with nerve pain. But with Himohim, it will actually help calm the nerves. Energy and awareness for stress. It's nothing like Himohim to help you handle stress better. It's an adaptogenic herb, which means it helps to regulate your body so that it will help you adapt to what's happening. And obviously the immune system. So I've gone through a lot of different conditions. So this is what I mean by Himohim. If somebody says, does it help me with such and such? Just say yes, because it will, because it works at such a deeper level with the blood, with inflammations, with antibacterial, antifungal, blood tonics. So no matter what condition that person is suffering from, it's going to help them. And this is why it's such a general overall supplement. And so it's not for one particular condition per se, because if they're taking it for sleep, but they don't get good sleep, but they get 5 more other problems clearing up, and then they complain that they're not sleeping well, it means their body's not ready to look after that yet. So you ask them, well, has there been anything that's changed in your life since? Is your skin better? How's your digestion? There's so many other things that the body has to look after before it looks after the one thing that person might be aware of. Right? So I always ask people, make a list of all the different issues that you're suffering from, and then put it away, and then look at that list in a month, and then see if you're still suffering from that, because you tend to forget. People, we adapt so quickly to good things, and we adapt really quickly to bad things. We normalize it. So if you don't write it down, if you don't journal, you don't realize what's changed. So this is actually also, I've taken from the PDF, which all of you should get, because you're going to get all that information in that PDF. But I kind of outlined how to take Himohim. Because everybody is different, you have to adjust it according to the person. So people who are on the box, it says 2 a day. That is just a general maintenance dose. But some people need 6 a day. Some people can only take half a day, half a package a day. So you have to be a little bit questioning as to what that person is like, and always err on the side of caution. It's much better to start with less and move up than start with too much and have the person react negatively, and then they don't want to take it anymore. Because once you have a negative reaction, people get scared. So always tell them what may happen as a reaction, even though it's not really a reaction, it's just the body working, but people don't know. If they are told ahead, then when it happens, they're not scared, they're not afraid, and they go, oh, this is what Sue told me what would happen, so it's happened. Okay, I'm fine with that. So always take the time to really understand how to tell people how to take HemoHIM, because the last thing you want to do is scare them off so that they don't benefit from the incredible value of HemoHIM. That's what I'm always afraid of. So always start slow and then work their way up. And so that if they take it too fast, then they know it was their fault and they can always back up, right? So people who have very hypersensitive to taste and smells, or they have sensitive stomachs, really increase the HemoHIM gradually, okay? It's always better to start slow. Even just a couple of teaspoons in a bit of water that they can sip throughout the day would be a good start. And you know who these people are, because they're going to tell you, oh, you know, I can't take this, I can't take that. Then you say, oh, then you're going to take it really slow, and they'll appreciate it, okay? So for some people, a couple of teaspoons in a full glass of water, and just have them sip a little bit throughout the day. That's pretty easy to do. And they can keep the rest in the fridge. And the next day, they don't have any issues with their digestion, etc. Then have them take 4 teaspoons. So read through this and slowly just keep upping it, because one package has 2 tablespoons, 20 milliliters. Okay, so you just increase the dose. And you can do this for children as well. Just have them take 1 or 2 teaspoons throughout the day. People with sensitive stomachs, they also should be taking HemoHIM with food, preferably at the end of the meal. Again, with food, it won't irritate their stomach as much. As they take HemoHIM more frequently and regularly, their sensitive stomachs will heal. So tell them that it will actually eventually heal the sensitive stomachs, and they'll be able to take more HemoHIM, and their digestive system will calm down, right? So the typical dose is 2 packages per day, but depending on the current health status of the person, it can range anywhere between 1 to 6 a day. So for children, you might give them half, depending on what they're suffering from. And for people with a lot of health issues, they've got 2, 3 different health conditions, or suffering from cancer, active cancer, you can move them up to 6 a day, or as much as they can handle. Some people, they can't take more than 4 a day. Everyone's going to be different. So you work them up slowly, and if they can take 6 a day, you have them take 2, 3 times a day. And if they're strong stomachs, etc., then they can take in between meals. That is the optimum. But if they have weak digestive systems, have them take it with their meals. I don't care whether they take it with their meals or empty stomach. The key is to get it in their system. Okay, that's the key. It won't do them any good unless it's in their system. So children over 6 can take HemoHIM. Just adjust the dose according to the child. Get them gradually to use the taste. That's the biggest challenge with kids. Get them used to the taste by giving them very small amounts in juice, add honey, sugar, whatever you need to do to get it tasting it. Because after maybe 5 or 6 or 7 tries, their palate gets used to the taste, and it won't be such an issue. But actually, even 6-year-olds, if you tell them this is not going to taste too good, but it's really going to help with your whatever condition they're suffering from, you'll be surprised how compliant they will be, because they know it's a medicine that they expect it to not taste great, but they will suck it up and do it. A lot of times, kids are much better than adults, believe you me, because I've treated enough kids. The key is to treat them with respect and explain to them why they're taking this. I had a 10-year-old girl with severe eczema on her face for over 2 years. The only thing that kept it under control was a really powerful, strong steroid cream. Even if she missed one day, it would start spreading. 4 days of HemoHIM, 1 package a day. She worked it up to half, but by the time she took 1 pack a day, within 4 days, it all cleared up. So that's how fast kids respond, because their energy level is so high. The herbs work really well. Okay, where am I now? So let's go into HemoHIM and cancer, because this is really what it was developed for. And all the other anti-inflammatory and hormone balance, etc., they're all side benefits. But this really was the #1 reason that HemoHIM was developed. And how does it fight cancer? I need to explain to you how you get cancer. Once you understand that, then you're going to understand why HemoHIM is so incredible for preventing cancer. And if you do have cancer, then it will also help you fight it. So every single person, you, me, your neighbor next door, we all have cancer. You think, whoa, what does that mean? We all have cancer because every single day our bodies produce between 1,000 to 5,000 cancerous cells every day. Every day, 1,000, every day 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. But how come everyone doesn't have cancer? It's because your body has a natural ability to vacuum up these cancer cells. That's what I call, that's the analogy I like to use, because in your bloodstream, you have millions of vacuum cleaners that identifies the cancer cells and kills them and sucks them up. Just like, think of cancer cells as dust in your house. Every day, no matter how much, if you vacuum once a day, you have to vacuum every week, because if you don't, you can see the dust rising up. And most of the dust actually is our skin cells. You might not have known that. But so the vacuum cleaners in our body are your white blood cells, specifically your NK cells, called natural killer cells. They not only vacuum up cancerous cells, but they vacuum up viruses, and they vacuum up bacteria in your bloodstream. This is why HemoHIM is so important, because HemoHIM's #1 function is to stimulate your bone marrow to produce these white blood cells and red blood cells. But for cancer and fighting virus and bacteria, it's the white blood cells, which are your immune cells. And there's several types of white blood cells, but the important white blood cells for fighting cancer and fighting and destroying viruses and destroying bacteria that's in your bloodstream are the NK cells, and they stand for natural killer cells. And you have about 5 million of these natural killer cells in about a teaspoon of your blood. And it's your bone marrow's job to continually make them. But the problem is that when you're under a severe amount of stress, chronic stress, or as you get older, your ability to make these vacuum cleaners, these white blood cells, the NK cells, decreases dramatically. And this is the problem, is that you're continually creating the dust, creating cancer cells every day from the toxins that affect your cells, from the air, from the toxins in your food, toxins that you ingest, things that land on your skin. You're continually making cancer cells. And so, which means you have to continually make those vacuum cleaners, because as each one cleans up cancer cells, they die. These white blood cells don't live forever. They also die, which means you have to continue to replenish them. And you do that, and how that is done by the bone marrow. And what HemoHIM's job is to actually make sure you get more, continually make those NK natural killer cells. That is its #1 function. #2 function is it also stimulates the bone marrow to make red blood cells, because your red blood cell count goes down as well as you're under more stress and as you get older. So it's imperative that as you get older, you balance out the production of these cancer cells, etc., with making sure you take those herbs, etc., that helps you to keep those blood cells producing. And this is why older people get such incredible results by taking Himohim regularly. It's such a small price to pay for an incredible amount of benefit for the body, just that you can't see what it's doing, right? So this is how we balance out getting rid of the cancer cells, because whether you do anything or not, you are creating these cancer cells every day. And unfortunately, we are under a tremendous amount of stress. And once the stress level goes up to a certain level and stays there, the ability to make these NK cells basically drops to nothing. And this is why it allows the cancer cells to then grow, because it's accumulating. Once it accumulates to a certain tipping point, there's the tumor, there's the whatever cancer, and then it affects the function of your body, and that's when you're diagnosed as cancer. And medically, all they do is they try to get rid of the diagnosed cancer, but they do nothing for preventing it. That's your job, and that's where Himohim comes from. Okay, so all of you should be taking Himohim every day. If nothing else, if you cannot afford anything, even if you can't afford food, you should be taking Himohim, because it is more valuable, 10x, than any food you're going to eat with respect to your overall health. All right, so I'm going to move on.
Inside all of us.
This actually is a 2-minute video visually that I'm not going to play, but you can watch it when you get the replay of this meeting, because it's going to show you actually how those white blood cells actually destroy the cancerous cells and the viruses. All right, so this is a huge topic right now, the Himohim and COVID-19 and the variants, fighting viruses and bacterial infections. All of you that are taking Himohim regularly, at least 2 a day, you are protected, because you are protected in the sense that you are making those vacuum cleaners to basically vacuum up any of these viruses that you may come in contact with, because you can't control what's outside. The only thing you can control is your internal system. And if inside is strong, it doesn't matter what's out there. It doesn't matter who you come in contact with. You will not have issues. And even if you do come in contact with something, your body will be able to take care of it. This is why I'm not worried, because I know my immune system is strong. And if you're not worried, your ability, that decreases your stress, that reduces, that then keeps your blood vessels, your immune system strong. The more you worry, the weaker your immune system is going to be. And that's very, very powerful. So you need to stop worrying. If you're taking your Himohim and you're eating good food, you're getting enough rest, you're doing everything to keep your body working at its optimum, to just stop worrying. And one thing about COVID, the blood clots, etc., from the spike proteins, and especially people who's had adverse effects, Himohim has been a tremendous benefit for people who have been suffering from some of the side effects. I've had a good friend of mine, her mother took the shots in April, vibrant, healthy. She was 65, just totally healthy. Within 3 months of the shot, she ended up with basically severe dementia, where she could not even remember how to get back home. It was terrible. And my friend was just so devastated. And she said, "What can I do?" And I said, Himohim, 6 a day. And within 6 weeks of 6 a day of Himohim, she was back to her old self. That is incredible. I never expected that kind of result. That is the power of Himohim. And And same thing, there's so many other stories like that. So first, they prevent the effects. If you've had the vaccines, I would suggest you make sure you take at least 3 or 4 Himohims a day consistently for a good 6 to 8 months, 4 a day, just to get rid of all of the effects that you may encounter later, to prevent it. And then if everything looks good in about 6 months, then go back down to 2. It can't, it's a small price to pay, but that would be what I would do. And the variants right now are really just colds. Okay, everyone gets colds. Fortunately, if you've been vaccinated, you are going to suffer much more, because the vaccines tend to reduce your effectiveness of your immune system. So that's why you need to actually take more, double up on your Himohim. I suggest during this winter season, because the winter season is the viral season, because they're very active during that time, if you've been taking 2 a day, I would suggest you take 4 a day for at least the next 3 to 4 months, just so you get more protection. It can hurt. I take 3 a day right now because it is the cold season, especially when you live in the northern climates, because we come in and out of the cold, hot, cold, warm, and that's very stressful for our bodies. Those of you who are in a constant temperature, like in Florida, not much of an issue. It's the northern climates, like here in Canada. And so I would suggest right now, take 3 a day. If you're typically healthy, 3 a day would work really well. Okay? All right. So now I covered this already in an inflammatory process. Amazing for anyone with any kind of inflammatory issues, arthritis, gastritis, inflammation of the bowels, inflammation of skin, like anti-inflammatory skin conditions, works very, very well. All right, so I talked about this already, anemia, recovering from injuries. Now, one thing, if you've had recent surgery where there's actually, you need like where there's cutting of the skin and there's sutures, do not take Himohim after the surgery or even a couple of days before, because Himohim tends to prevent the actual knitting, because you need the inflammation, you need all that to happen. So do not take Himohim for about a week until the surgery. Give your sutures a bit of time to knit, and then you can take Himohim, right? Because it's going to actually affect the knitting process. Whereas my injury, I had no surgery, it was all internal, so I had no problems taking huge amounts of Himohim right away. So anyone have any questions or
Dr. Anel, there was a question already written on the chat box while you were explaining. So I'll just go over the questions and maybe you can give us the answer for that.
Okay.
So first question on the chat room was, how much glucose does Himohim have?
Glucose, actually, it has, one of the things about Himohim is it's a oriental herb, right? Most North Americans cannot handle the strange taste of the oriental herbs. I mean, I'm used to it. My mother cooking it for 6 hours in the kitchen. It would stink up the house. It was easy. But so there's, I believe on the package, about 6 grams of carbohydrates, mainly from honey and a little bit of corn syrup. Now, people all go crazy when I say corn syrup. The corn syrup that's in Himohim is the corn syrup that we used to use 50 years ago, meaning it's just the sugar of the corn, not the high fructose corn syrup that they use as a sweetener in pop, etc. It's different. That's why it says corn syrup, not high fructose corn syrup, because there are 2 different types. The high fructose corn syrup is very sweet, and it's actually toxic. Corn syrup and corn is, if you had a cob of corn, the carbohydrates in that corn is the corn syrup. Okay, just like the sugar from sugar cane. It's no different. Okay, so there's an issue with people with diabetes, right? That it may increase your sugar. It's not enough to give you a problem, but people who are diabetic, it will shoot up your blood sugar temporarily. It's quite common. And then it regulates, because what it does is it starts disrupting the hormone balance initially, and then it starts regulating. So just keep a really good eye on your sugar. But it's just for flavoring, the honey and a little bit of corn syrup. Okay, does that answer your question? Anything else?
And next question is, the Himohim removed the neuropathy, but the symptoms are still there, and I want to know why.
That's a very specific question to the person. So it could be that they actually have a physical, if they have a neuropathy, they might actually have a physical impingement that needs to be taken care of, right? Because then there's several reasons why nerves are impinged, right? The neuropathy, if it's neuropathy because of diabetes, that means the nerve is dead. If it's gone beyond a certain point, Himohim is not going to fix it. It may reduce the inflammation around it to take away some of the pain, but once you have neuropathy, it's too late. So, but that's a individual question, right?
Okay, so next question goes, can a toddler with alpha thalassemia take Himohim?
What thalassemia? Okay, what is that condition? I recognize it, but I don't know exactly what it is.
Whoever asked the question, would you like to explain, Leah, would you like to explain the symptom?
Because I would have to look it up and then I can tell you. So, who asked that question?
Leah Ferrer, she asked the question.
Okay. Actually, well, why don't you send that question to me so I can look up the problem, because I don't know.
Perfect, I'll do that. Yes, I'll send you that information with the person who asked the question.
That's
okay, so next question is, if you're diagnosed for MS, can you take Himohim? It's not going to interfere with your medication?
MS is one of the great, not great, but one of the conditions where Himohim will work really, really well. One of the things about anybody taking medications, and they start taking Himohim, you need to always monitor your medication. The reason being is that Himohim can work so fast, you may be overdosing on the medication, especially people with diabetes or high blood pressure, because it can work very fast. And so you don't want to be actually overdosing yourself. So always work with your doctor and say, look, I'm taking this natural remedy, so I just want to make sure we keep track of the medications, right? But any condition, you will benefit. Certain ones, less, depending on how severe it is and how much damage there has been to your body. But definitely with MS, you should be taking Himohim, and I would say probably four a day, and see how you do. But you up and down the dose depending on your stress level, etc. Okay.
And you said no Himohim after any medical surgery. How about until a week later?
Yes, after a week is fine. It depends on the surgery, right? But if there's any sutures and things that, and you don't want your immune system being overactive, you may want to maybe even wait 2 weeks, because Himohim is actually will stimulate your immune system, right? And so it's always best to maybe leave it for a couple of weeks if you've had surgery with sutures and stuff like that. Okay. Okay, so
remember the question with the toddler with the alpha thalassemia. He said it's a hemoglobin deficiency.
Oh, okay. Then they should be taking Himohim, right? Because it helps with for the people with alpha, they tend to iron supplement. Yeah, but you have to remember, iron supplements are different. Now, if they have a hemoglobin with 2 years old. Okay. Oh, can you read Leah's 2 years old Oh, let me just read that chat.
The iron supplement.
But they do zinc too. Iron overload. Okay, but you see, hemoglobin is not an iron supplement, right? Now, some people with, let me just see, I just want to double check. Oops, where's the chat? Oh, constant query. Increment of blood sugar level is this too. Okay. All right. So the case, hemoglobin. I know by when reduce the production of hemoglobin is produced. Yes, I know it's not recommended. I'm still on meeting. Okay, so that's something. She's only 2 years old, so I don't really want to say yes, use it. You might want to try it, and if she's getting her iron tested regularly, then you'll be able to see just maybe a teaspoon or so on a daily basis and see what happens. Okay? But, okay. Okay. All right, Erin.
There are questions. Is it HemoHIM can to help with Alzheimer?
Oh man, can it ever? One of the things with Alzheimer's and dementia, a lot of it has to do with just nutritional deficiencies, especially B deficiencies. The first thing anybody with Alzheimer's, with dementia, etc., you must get our B complex, number one. Okay, it is so easy to help. And, obviously it depends on how far they are, but they will get benefit overall everywhere. Himalayan for sure, at least 4 to 6 a day. And the B complex is critical. Plus the omega-3s, very, very important. Okay, for blood function, brain function, etc. Okay, so do not be afraid to take too much. 6 is good. You can try it for a month and see what happens. It's amazing how fast people will respond, right? And there's no side effects.
And next question. Some people say that HemoHIM can cause temporary increment blood sugar level. Is it true? Some people are afraid because of this. What do you say to those who are experiencing this?
Oh, I think I mentioned it. It has happened and it's common. But it's temporary. The key is temporary. And so that's actually a good sign because it means the body's reactive and it's shaking things up. A lot of times when you've had a condition for a long time, things kind of settle, and what HemoHIM will do sort of stir things up, and then it will help regulate the issue. So definitely, I wouldn't be afraid. Just monitor your blood sugar and adjust your medication accordingly, right? If you need a little more a certain day, do it. But eventually things will settle, and then eventually the key is to get off your medication. And it's happened to so many people that they're able to actually get off the meds, and then you make sure your diet is low in the carbs and regulated.
Sorry, Jane, I think this question was earlier, but I forgot to read it out. My sister has completed her bone marrow transplant last year. Can she take HemoHIM? Bone marrow transplant last year.
Okay, is she on anti-rejection medication? If she is, it may be a problem because of the. So I don't quite know how HemoHIM might affect the bone marrow. If it's somebody else's bone marrow, if she's on anti-rejection medication, it might be an issue that she may not be able to, because it could interfere with the medication, and that's the last thing you want to do. But I don't know enough about that subject to comment. Okay, she is not. Oh, okay, she's not on okay, she's not on anti-rejection
medication with the Parkinson's disease.
Oh.
Oh no, sorry, this is a different one.
I'm still anti-rejection, the bone marrow transplant. If they don't have to take anti-rejection medication, they can take Himohim. Okay, it's when they need anti-rejection medication, you got to be careful, right? Right.
Okay, how about Hemohim for autoimmune disease?
Oh, well, that's the #1 reason. Cancer and autoimmune disease. Any autoimmune diseases, including rheumatoid arthritis, MS, psoriatic arthritis, Crohn's disease, anything where the body's immune system goes crazy and starts attacking the body, that is when you need to take Himohim. 6 a day for at least 3 months. You're going to have incredible results. And if you need to take 6 a day rest of your life, man, who cares? Because it's going to give you an incredible life. All right. So anybody with any immune system dysfunction, whether it's usually autoimmune is when your immune system is overactive. So it actually starts attacking itself. Himohim will dampen the reaction. That's what the M in HIM stands for. You have to understand the name is so telling. Hemo stands for hemoglobin, right? So it's going to help make optimum amounts of hemoglobin. The H stands for hemiopoiesis, meaning the ability to make blood, right? Helps to make red and white blood cells. The I stands for immune system. The M stands for modulation. That means it helps to regulate. Too high brings it down. Too low brings it up to the optimum level. That's what we call homeostasis. Okay. So autoimmune, people with autoimmune diseases, it means their immune system is working too much. Just like allergies. People who suffer from allergies has an autoimmune issue because they're actually reacting too much to things they should not be reacting to. Too much to food, certain foods, too much to mold, dust, trees. Those are things we should not be reacting to, but they're overactive. So anybody with any autoimmune conditions, you should be taking minimum of 4 Himohims a day and 6 if it's really severe. And then as your condition improves, you can bring it down. Okay. Any other?
Can Himohim help someone who is getting seizure after receiving the shingles vaccine?
Yes. Yes, because it's going to help regulate their brain. They're getting seizures because now the vaccine's gotten, you're getting blood clots in certain areas. I don't know how much it's going to help, but it can't hurt. That's one thing. I can't say yes, it'll help 100%, but with the people that I've seen, with people with the early onset dementia, etc., it has to help. It's got to help somehow. Okay, so it's worth to try at least a month, 6 a day a month. And if you notice a change, I have one lady, actually she's a young girl. She had seizures regularly, not from the vaccine, but that was her life. And within a month of taking just 2 Himohims a day, the mother really noticed a decrease in the frequency of her seizures. So that is tremendous. So you cannot go wrong. Just try for a month. 6 a day, try for a month. If there's even some difference, then do it again for another month. Do it again for another month. Just 1 month at a time. Okay? Yes?
Okay, next question. Can Himohim help multiple system atrophy?
Multiple system atrophy. That's a pretty, let's look up. What does that mean?
Elaine, are you here? We'll be able to explain the
multiple
details?
System atrophy. That's a very general term. Multiple means lots, system, lots, and something's breaking down. Atrophy means getting smaller, but I haven't heard that term. So while she's looking it up, let's try another question.
What is your experience with Himohim in patients with Parkinson's disease?
Oh, again, brain, right? Me, I haven't seen too many Parkinson's because they don't come to see me, but the way Parkinson's works, again, it's a brain issue, like Alzheimer's, dementia, they're all in the same category. 6 a day for a month. Try it. Because the reactions, a lot of things that are attributed to Parkinson's is not Parkinson's, but everything ends up being, oh, that's because of the Parkinson's. That's the problem with medicine. Once you're diagnosed with something, everything gets attributed to that condition and that person doesn't get treated. So if in doubt, use Himohim 6 a day for a month. And if that person starts waking up, starts changing, you know they needed something from Himohim, right? Because I don't know how far they are, etc. All I've got is a diagnosis, but it cannot hurt, and there's a huge chance that it will help. And also in all the other functions of their body, not just their brain, but their whole function. Because by the time you're having Parkinson's, you're most likely older and you may be nutritionally deficient. A lot of other stuff are happening as well. So the ancillary benefits are going to be huge. Next question.
Next question is also with the Parkinson's. So my mother-in-law has a Parkinson's. She's 80 years old. Can she take Himohim with her medication?
Yes, yes. I have 80-year-old that could hardly actually, it's not Parkinson's, but she could hardly climb the stairs. Within 2 weeks, be able to go up the stairs without any issues. I don't care how old they are. If they're still alive, they can benefit from Himohim. Okay, so 80-year-olds, just because they're 80 doesn't mean things are not going to work for them. Try it. If she's got Parkinson's, she's probably got other health issues as well. So try 6 a day. Just work up slowly, because I don't know what other health issues she may have. Half a pack one day. See how she is next day. Good. Then make it 1 pack a day. Next for a day or two. Then she's good. Then pack and a half, and just keep working it up to as much as she can handle, up to 6. Anything above 6, you're wasting it, because that's the optimum dosage. Okay, so you cannot go wrong. Just do it slowly, because she may have some digestive issues. She may probably be constipated. She may welcome having looser bowels. That's what a lot of seniors end up saying, that they really like the fact their bowels are looser, because most of them get quite constipated, right? Especially if they're taking a lot of medications. They tend to really constipate people, and then they get another medication to help with their bowels, which is silly. And that's how you end up with 5, 6, 7 different medications. They don't even know why they're taking it, right? So let's see if we can detoxify them. And they're also going to be very, very toxic. And that's another thing, the body will start detoxifying. Okay, next.
Next question is, what about someone with the leukemia and the lymphoma?
Leukemia. Oh, I have one person I know, Roman. He's 62 years old. He was, I don't know what type of leukemia, but it was so severe that all he could do was just lie on the couch. Okay. And the next thing on the medical agenda was, I believe, a bone marrow transplant. And he had 50-50 chance of surviving it. That was the only option. And his friend told him about Himohim, and then I started talking to him, because she didn't quite know how to handle whether he should take Himohim or not. He was also getting blood transfusions every 2 weeks, just so that he had enough energy to lie on the couch. That was it. Okay, just to keep him alive. And so he started taking Himohim 6 a day, and within 3 weeks, his blood volume came up to the point where the doctor said, if your blood stays the same next time we check, you won't need a blood transfusion. Within a month of taking Himohim at 6 a day, he was off the couch. He could actually get off the couch. In 3 months of taking 6 Himohims a day, he's playing golf. And no bone marrow transplant. And he religiously orders his 4 boxes of Himohim when it runs out. Okay, so he's gotten his life back. That's somebody with severe leukemia where his next option was bone marrow transplant and getting blood transfusions every 2 weeks. So that should tell you how powerful HemoHIM is, right? What was the other question? I think there was 2 questions there.
Oh, I think there are 3 more questions. Do you still have energy to answer all those questions?
I could stay up all night. So if you guys need to
Okay.
go and go to sleep, be my guest. But I will keep answering questions.
Next question is, if you have a bleeding disorder, can you take HemoHIM since it's a blood thinner?
Depends on what
the blood thinner. The
Yeah,
person has a bleeding disorder.
Yeah, but what kind of bleeding disorder? See, that's not enough, right? Because, because the blood thinning effect, the HemoHIM is really not that.
Oh, is this ITP?
What's ITP? Okay, I don't know ITP. Now, give me a little bit more info, so we'll move on to the next question.
Miriam, if you're here, would you like to ask a question in person?
Yes. Actually, I have that condition where it's like a blood clotting disorder. And I would bruise easy. And then before they said that it's a potential that I have my spleen removed. So it is basically like platelets, the platelets.
You don't have enough platelets.
That is correct.
Okay, because the platelets are your clotting factor.
Yes.
Right? Okay, then you can take HemoHIM because the HemoHIM is not going to affect the platelet function per se.
Mm-hmm.
The blood thinning effect of HemoHIM is really not that great, but the benefit of all the other effects will be huge for you. So you just have to be careful of how much and just take a little bit and see what happens with your system. Okay, so just take a half a pack for about a week and see. Do you get your blood tested regularly?
No, actually, I know my body to a point where I can feel it. So most of the time, I would rest. Like sometimes I would just sleep for 2-3 days, and then sometimes I would also take like pregnant, those not pregnant, the pills for women who are pregnant, and then that gives me a little bit more energy. But other than that, like prenatal pills, okay, because prenatal pills, I know because they said to me before that I would need more of the folic acid.
And you make prenatal vitamins, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the beneficial herbs in HemoHIM is going to make a huge difference to you. Okay. Because you're most likely very vitamin nutrition deficient.
Okay.
Right? Not just the issue with your platelets, but from what you're telling me is you've got a lot of deficiencies that has nothing to do with your blood per se. Okay. So your energy level, I think, will perk up. You're most likely also anemic as well. Mm-hmm. Right? So just see what happens. Work your way up from half. Take half for the first week. See how you feel. If you feel really good, well, then take, and you don't have any negative effects, take one the next week, and then work a while. Okay.
Thank you for that, because what had happened is I stopped everything to see what the effect of HemoHIM is, and then I did like 2-3 days, and I said, I guess I did it too much in a sense where I felt different, and the energy was still going down. So I had to stop it. That's the reason why I'm asking right now, because I know that there's a lot of benefits to it, but then apparently I was not into the more details that you're giving right now to actually, and then the dosage that you're saying, and to do it gradually. So thank you so very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Good. All right. Next.
Can HemoHIM help autistic children?
Of course. Autistic children are people too. My daughter is autistic, and she's one of the I mean, and she takes Himohim because they have issues with hormones, they have issues with brain function, they have anxiety, depression, you name it. They're people, they just happen to think differently, right? So by all means, if they have any issues, just like regular people, give them Himohim. There'll be no downsides and they'll get all the benefits, especially with anxiety and depression, because that's a big one for a lot of people on the autism spectrum. Okay, because it will help calm them down, which means they'll be able to function at a better level. Okay, any other questions?
Terrence, probably you wanted to clarify the question because his question was how many standardized for the Himohim?
How many what?
How many standardized for the Himohim? So probably we need to get a standardized for the Himohim.
Standardized for what?
For the Himohim.
I don't understand the question.
That's right. How about the person on the dialysis for already 3 years, mother 72 years old on dialysis, the other lady is 41 years old on dialysis daily. Can Himohim help? How many shots they can take daily? They can take.
My father was on dialysis every 2 weeks, right? Sis, how long was he? He was on, no, he wasn't on dialysis or what?
It's 3 years. Mother is 3 years.
Oh, okay. All right. Dialysis means that they have an issue with the kidneys and that they can't get rid of all the toxins, right? Because kidneys is a purifier of the blood. Okay. Himohim will be amazingly good for those people because it's going to help them detoxify. All right, so being on dialysis does not negate that for them not to take Himohim. Okay, it will actually be very beneficial, and because it's going to help actually support the kidneys to do its job. Because the people who need dialysis means the kidneys basically are not functioning, and so the dialysis machine is acting as their kidneys. So it's going to help with all the other functions as well, but it's not going to be a detriment. Okay, but the key is to, again, work up slowly, right? Because I don't know what other health issues that person might have. We don't want them detoxifying too fast, too quickly. That might cause them issues. So maybe half a pack, for a week, see how they do. Good. All right, then 1 pack for a week and see. If they have any issues, back off to the former dosage. Because again, all I know is that person's on dialysis. I don't know anything else about them, what their bowels are like, what their hormones are like, etc. Okay, right?
I think last question is, what about lymphoma? I think that question probably was lymphoma.
Lymphoma is a cancer, right? It's lymphoma. If it's a cancer, okay. Who asked that question? Yeah, I believe lymphoma is a cancer. Just that makes muscles. Oh, okay. Let's see. I got the multiple system atrophy. Lymphoma, yes, because it's a type of tumor cancer, right? And it may help actually reduce it, but definitely 6 a day. 6 a day. I've had so many different people with different kinds of cancers, benign and malignant, and within 3 months have totally turned themselves around. And 6 a day. Okay, right? With the person with the systemic atrophy, if it's a fatal condition, why not? 6 a day, right? They're gonna, you have nothing to lose. 6 a day for a month and just repeat and see what happens. It may not be fatal. We don't know how your body's going to respond, but at least it's not going to make things worse. Right? If that was me, I would definitely do it. Right? Because you have nothing to lose. Right? That's the key. What do you got to lose? And just do it for a month at a time. But will they need more than Himohim? I don't know because I don't know the person. Right? So I'm just answering about Himohim. And if they have a fatal disease, again, I don't know what other, they're more than their disease. So I don't know what else, because they're not my patient, so I can't tell you what else they would need. But Himalayan for sure. If nothing else, take 6 a day per month and see what happens. But work up slowly. That's always my advice, always, with people with major health issues. Slowly, and just observe what's happening. Pay attention, right? And sometimes things may get worse before they get better. So depending on what's getting worse, let it happen. Just back off for a few days. Don't take anything. Just let things settle and then start up again. Because it's not going to kill them, okay? But sometimes getting worse might be a good thing because it's disrupting the pattern, and then their body can get back onto the good pattern, right?
구독, 좋아요 눌러주세요.